Hello, is there anyone out there? This is Radio Echo. I'm just one of the 87 survivors here in what we now call Haven, a name we picked when hope felt like it was slipping away, and I guess we wanted something to hold on to. It's 7 years, 3 months, and 14 days since the last bomb fell. Some days feel like I'm stuck in a loop, like time just pauses to let the weight of our new reality settle deeper into our bones. The world used to rush by, hum and vibrate with life, but now it's eerily quiet. We've lost so many along the way, friends, family, people who were just trying to survive like we all are. Disease, radiation poisoning, it's like a hidden killer that lingers in the air in our bodies. Well, they're not what they used to be. The stories linger like the dust in the air, and I find myself speaking their names out loud. It's a way to keep the memories alive, to remind ourselves they mattered. We've buried too many out here, made makeshift graves in the shadow of the memories we cling to. Each lost reminder of what we had and what remains. We've learned the hard way that survival is more than just our own stubbornness. It's the collective strength, the shared resources, the blend of our skills. We've turned to the earth, to the remnants of what was once a vibrant world, the soil that's barely alive. But together we've remembered how to cultivate it, how to coax a little nourishment from its depths. Each seed we sow is a flicker of defiance against the void that threatens to consume us. And every sprout breaking through the cracked earth is a testament to our will to endure. What's left of our mechanical knowledge while we gather around the old generators, keeping the last vestiges of civilization running as best we can. It's precious, this understanding of gears and wires. We salvaged what we could from the ruins, piecing things together like a jigsaw puzzle, where the picture has long been lost. That knowledge gives us power even when electricity feels like a forgotten dream. And history, we can't afford to let it slip away, not like everything else did. Together, we sit around at night, sharing the stories we still remember. Yes, the tales of war and strife that's in us. We also share the stories of laughter, love, and life that came before the darkness. We do this for those who will come after us. We must teach them about who we were, who we lost, and how to build a better tomorrow. Every lesson counts. Each tale, however simple, carries the weight of resilience. So here I am, sitting in this makeshift studio we threw together, trying to find some sense of normalcy in all this madness. One of the few luxuries left to us, aside from the occasional scavenge cans of beans or whatever we can dig up, is our little brewing operation. Yeah, that's right. We've managed to make our own liquor. Not that it would win any awards, mind you. It's pretty awful, really. Tastes like swamp water mixed with regret, but you know what? It gets the job done. Warms us up, puts a little fire in our bellies, and most importantly, keeps our spirits up, if only for a little while. 4 short years and billions of lives, billions of dreams turned to dust, families torn apart, cities reduced to ash, and hope evaporated like morning mist. We often thought we were invincible, didn't we? Yeah, here we are, the survivors in this decaying shell of civilization, sharing our thoughts on old radios and the ruins of what used to be our lives. It's been a long time, over 7 years, but it feels more like 20 years ago to me. I don't know why that is, but still, though it makes no difference now, we have to ask ourselves, how could this have been avoided? How do we all get caught up in this mess? Pawns in the game played by those at the top, the powerful. They pulled the strings, whipped the masses into a frenzy, and sent us charging into chaos. And yeah, those with the power to change things, they thought they were untouchable, didn't they? He has a cruel sense of humor. Now they're gone, just like the rest of us. They've joined the countless billions they led to destruction, leaving behind nothing but a legacy of ruin. But it is what it is, and we're just doing what we can for the time being, pulling together, encouraging one another. That's very important. The most important thing I would say is encouragement and putting on a brave face for the sake of the kids, because for a lot of them, the ones under 7, this is all they know. 17 have been born in this camp. Sadly, 3 of them didn't make it, but the 14 that did. Yeah, this is all they know. So we have to give them the best life we can, regardless of the circumstances. Each morning, we wake up and stare into the same gray sky. The sun, well, it shows up sometimes, but it's rays feel weak, almost apologetic, but we gather around whatever little food we have, keeping our spirits up, and we tell stories to our children. Blue skies, lush green fields, a world full of laughter. Those stories matter. They remind us of what we're fighting for. Sooner or later, we know we can't just hunker down here forever. We need to venture out, explore the wasteland that's just beyond our makeshift camp. If not us, then maybe it'll be our children, the next generation, because I can see it in their eyes. They're curious. They want to know what lies out there beyond the rubble and ashes. Sure, it's dangerous. Every step outside could lead to, well, who knows? But isn't that the spirit of exploration, the urge to turn the unknown into something familiar? If we don't take that chance, if we don't attempt to build a future, then all those stories we tell around the fire will mean nothing. Imagine them, our children, walking amongst the ruins with eyes wide open, seeing a world that can be remade. They'll find beauty in the broken, create something new from the remnants of the past. It's up to us to give them that chance. I imagine them standing at the edge of what was once an old, forgotten world. Those kids filled with curiosity and courage. They'll take their first steps into the unknown. They'll meet other survivors if there are any left. They'll hear stories of struggles, of loss, but mostly tales of resilience, of hope. Because amidst all this destruction, there are hearts that still beat, dreams that refuse to fade. They'll find others who've survived, just like us. These children, our future, will become the founding fathers and mothers of a new world. Imagine that for a moment. Picture them sitting around a fire, sharing tales of their journey, dreams, and aspirations, and together they'll lay the foundations of a new society. They'll learn from our mistakes and build a better world, one born from the horrors of our past, yet rich with the promise of tomorrow. Now, I know many of you worry. I worry too. The scars of our catastrophic history run deep. But in this moment, I urge you to cultivate our children's courage, teach them not just to survive, but to thrive, equip them with the tools they need, not just for survival, but for compassion, collaboration, and creativity. We owe it to them and to ourselves. By the way, I'm here with a good friend of mine in our studio, if you can call it that. His name is Arnie Leinster, and Arnie is just a great man, and I would not say that about many people, but he really is. He is the appointed camp leader. We put it to a vote about 3 years ago, and Arnie came out on top with me as a close second. The only kid that never stood a chance, but he's here beside me, and I'm going to let him speak for a while, and he can tell you his story or whatever it is Arnie wants to say, if anything. So, Arnie, do you want to say anything?
Okay. Thanks, Michael. Hello, as Michael said, my name is Arnie Leinster, and myself and Michael found ourselves at this location this camp that we now call Haven 7 years ago, nearly 8 years ago, actually, near the end of the war, when it was just nothingness really, and we were in search of the best possible place to get away from harm's reach, get away from the affected areas, and try to simply survive with our families. And 8 years later, here we are. We are very proud of what we have managed to do, how we have worked together, all of us, to build what we have today. And no doubt there has been struggles, to say the least. There have been some very, very dark days when we all felt like throwing in the towel, when we saw our family members succumb to radiation poisoning. Our close friends started showing signs of becoming unwell due to exposure from the fallout. Times when the weather, the elements were really against us, and we all looked like skeletal figures from the hunger that plagued us day and night, the exhaustion, the thirst, but we came through it. We got this far, and that has ignited a flicker of hope within us all that now can never be extinguished. And so we don't forget the hardships, we remember them and use them as fuel to fight another day. It's hard to put into words the journey we've been on. We've rebuilt more than just a camp. We've built a community in this scarred land. We found purpose and unity among the remnants of a world we used to know. And every day as the sun rises, we gather together, old hands and young hearts alike, to learn, to teach, and to create. Each person here carries a job, a responsibility that we've embraced to ensure our survival and our legacy. We have mechanics and metal workers using their skills to mend what we can and build the tools that will help us thrive again. Simple machines, things that might sound trivial, but every piece counts in the grand design of our future. And we have carpenters who shape wood into shelters, imagining homes that stand strong against the elements, and in the place of hospitals that once were. We have trained our own doctors and nurses, learning what we can from medical books and trying to take every necessary precaution if we need to do some kind of procedure, because of course, despite the disregard for human life or life in fact over the course of those horrible 4 years, we hold the knowledge that life is precious and we will fight to preserve it. Let's not forget our teachers. They forge pathways for our children, guiding them through the dense woods of history, mathematics, and language. And the knowledge they share is essential for the generation to come. They need to know what happened, why the world is the way it is. And it just really amazes me that the kids, they will never truly be able to fathom the world before the war, the bustling cities, planes flying overhead, the sound of a real summer, the birds, the insects, the feeling of running downstairs on Christmas morning, building sandcastles on the beach, going on vacation, going to college. It makes me, I get emotional when I think of it, that they will never be able to fathom that all they know is a bleak sky and struggles and this camp. But I'm sorry, I've kind of veered off what I was talking about. So as I was saying, the teachers, they play an essential role in the development of the kids, and they are great teachers. We love them dearly, and out on the fields we toil to grow crops. Each seed is sown with hope, nurturing the soil that nourishes us. And on these lands, we are not just survivors, we are tillers of the earth, gardeners of the future. So every bite of food we grow is a reminder that every day we choose to fight for our existence and our heritage. And I know it's easy to feel forgotten in this chaotic world, but I want to remind everyone, especially the younger generation, that our past, its advancements, its warnings, its knowledge is a treasure, and it is our duty to pass it on to ensure that it never fades into oblivion, because we are stitching together the fabric of what was once humanity, one stitch at a time, and that it becomes a tapestry our children and their children can see and understand. Camp is a beacon of hope, a testament to resilience. Every one of us plays a role, and together we are indomitable. So If you then hear us, let this message carry far and wide. The spirit of humanity endures, and as long as we breathe, as long as we work with our hands and our hearts, we will not fade into the ashes of history.
Thank you, Arnie. That was a great way to end it. And like we were saying before, someday we need to venture out there. We want to meet others in the same position as us, but we have no idea what is out there anymore. We walked for 3 days or 4 days. It was back about 2 years ago, and it was just barren landscape, no sign of life, like an alien planet. And we couldn't go any further because, for one, we only had a limited amount of supplies to last us those few days. Abundance of anything here is not a thing. And secondly, the levels of radiation on our radiation meters was hitting dangerously high levels, and so we had to turn back. But our plan is to head south the next time we do it, and stock up on enough supplies to last us up to 2 weeks. And our radiation meters are still functioning. One thing we don't have a lack of is batteries. So many people brought batteries. So that's the plan. And we are hoping that maybe this broadcast will reach somebody out there. Maybe you have a camp similar to ours. Maybe you're broadcasting too, looking for a response from somebody. But we want to meet you. We want to trade. We want to connect again somehow. So if anyone's listening, if anyone's out there, please respond. We are trying to trade, connect, and share what little we have, from seeds for planting to canned goods that remind us of more carefree days. I guess we want to help each other rebuild. And if you have something to offer, if you've got goods to trade, we want to hear from you. Well, let me be clear. This ain't just a friendly exchange of pleasantries. And we've got our guard up, sharp eyes, and steady hands, because we know there are those out there with sinister intentions, scavengers looking to raid what's left of our supplies, and hunger can twist a person. And while we want to share, we also won't let ourselves be picked clean. And so if you're out there, if you really mean no harm, come with a clear heart and open hands. We've got weapons to protect ourselves in the worst case scenario. So just let that be a warning to anyone who may have other intentions. We are well armed. It's a precaution we take seriously. And, well, no one wants to be on the wrong side of a barrel in a world where trust is a rare commodity. We're looking for allies, for partnerships, not just for trades, but for all of us to stand stronger together, because there's safety in numbers, and we can learn from one another and share stories, knowledge, skills, remind ourselves of what it means to be human again, even in this barren wasteland. So if you hear this, reach out, and let's find a way to bridge the vast nothingness between us. We're tired of just surviving. We want to start living again, so let's carve a path through this desolation and help one another find what's left of hope.
Yes, well said, Michael. Let's hope this reaches somebody out there, and who knows, maybe in the not too distant future we might... Oh my God! Oh my God, yes, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
Who are you? The signal is weak.
Repeat, this is New Dawn. This is New Dawn.
New Dawn, hello.
My name is Richard Collins.
Hello, Richard.
We received your broadcast loud and clear.
Oh my God, I can't believe this, man. Are we glad to hear you? Where are you? Where are you situated?
We're south of the Kinzigburg River and about 4 miles west of Willow Rock, close enough to see the old railway station.
Oh my Lord. Yes, I know Willow Rock, sir. That would put you about only 18, 19 miles from our location. Oh my God, what's your situation? How you holding up?
Well, there's only 22 of us left, but there were 57 of us to begin with. But we haven't had the fortune of being able to produce much crop. Our supplies were low from the very beginning, and on top of that, in the early days, we had 4 raiders who came to the camp and began to open fire, and they killed 16.
My God, that's awful.
But eventually, we were able to overpower them, and we killed them, but yeah, we lost 16 on that terrible day, and I'll be honest, we don't have much. We just hang in there, really, and we fish as much as we can, but the water is contaminated, most of it anyway, so trying to find a good fishing spot is near impossible, but we have had some luck, and like you, we've got radiation meters and whatnot, but being honest, a lot of us are on our last legs, and well, that's how I would sum up our situation.
Okay. Well, Richard, we're sorry to hear that. We're sorry to hear about the losses you've sustained there. First of all, we've had our fair share too, and it is what it is, given the situation. But okay, what can we do here? How can we somehow work together and help each other in some way? We both need to think of something that can benefit us all. We have some supplies, but they're just about enough to sustain our people. So I hate to say this, but we can't just, give our stuff away. We have to prioritize, our people, but what can we do here?
Yeah, of course, we're not looking for handouts. We've gotten as far as we have without any outside help. So, yeah, I completely understand that. I hadn't really thought that far ahead. It was just nice to hear that. And there were some other people out there that's cured me of my loneliness for the time being. So that's a positive. But as for what we can do, I'm open to ideas. But like I said before, we're on our last legs, and I'll be blunt in terms of food, clothing, the essentials. We can offer nothing because we're just living day to day. Every day could be our last, but we do have tools, every tool you can think of, and we got fuel. We stocked up on hundreds of gallons of it in the early days, and hell, we've only used about, I would say, a tenth of it for the chainsaws to fell what few trees are in the area for housing. So we got that, but it's a pity we ain't got a car. That would make life a hell of a lot easier. Just drive out and scan the area, but yeah, like I said, we got lots of tools. Any tool you need, I'll be damned if we don't have it.
Okay, that's great. We can work something out here, Richard, definitely. We are in short supply of tools. We have got no fuel whatsoever. So I'm thinking we can work something out here. This is good. This is positive, very positive. And, need I state the obvious, we got to meet up and discuss this, how we can do this. So I think that's the first step, putting plans in place to organize a meeting and taking one small step for man, one giant leap for our kind.
I absolutely agree, and I am very excited to inform the others that we have made contact, that we're taking progressive steps to more hopeful future. So thank you guys.
Okay, so how are we going to, and thank you to Richard, you have given us a blinding glimmer of hope that we have not felt for a long time. So, yeah, thank you too. Okay, should we plan on meeting halfway between the two camps, like a few representatives from each camp, or maybe we could, do something like that, and then we can, like you said, you're short on food, we can get you something to eat here, show you around what we do, what we got going on, and then we can go back and see your place, when you've had a full meal, got your strength up. You can stay the night, and next morning or whatever, we can go and see what you guys are doing, and we can go from there. How does something like that sound, Richard?
Well, it sounds like the best goddamn news I've gotten since Mary Hawkins agreed to make out with me at the back of Freddy's Diner in 1967. That's how that sounds.
Well, we're glad to hear that, Richard. And, it's a date, but we can't promise we'll be as pretty as Mary Hawkins or that you'll be as lucky.
Well, either way, I'm looking forward to it.
Well, we are too, sir. So what about if we, first off, what time is good for you? Maybe you need to make some preparations first.
Well, in the morning, I'm going to notify everybody about the good news, and then I'll round up a few men, gather a few bits and pieces, and then we're good. So I reckon we could leave about noon, if that's good for you guys.
Yeah, that would be great.
Fine by us, sir. That's perfect. So, can we meet along the Kensingberg River somewhere? Have you got access to a crossing on your side? Because we're north of the river. The bridge has been down for years, but if you can cross, we could just meet at some point along the river on our side, would that be possible?
Yeah, we can cross that Milton's Pass, and from there we can make our way down. And yeah, we leave at noon, and you leave at the same time. I reckon we should meet up sometime around 3 p.m. because it's about 18 miles in total, you said. So we should be able to do 9 miles in about 3 hours.
Okay, great. Well, we'll see you then, Richard, and we'll cheers a cup of our finest Havens brew when we meet. Looking forward to it.
Same here, guys. I'll see you then. And on behalf of everyone from New Dawn, thank you and good night.
Good night, Richard. Good night, New Dawn. And a new dawn it certainly is.
Wow. Well, that was unexpected.
I'm in shock to that happened. It's our first contact with other humans in over 7 years.
I feel like this is the start of something big. Like,
yeah, definitely. I feel it too, for sure.
we're on to something here. Fuel, tools, machinery. I mean, of course, the fuel won't last forever, but
No,
just
of course,
imagine
yeah.
what we could do with a few extra tools and a chainsaw. Man, I cannot wait to hear the sound of a chainsaw again and to
Yeah, me
just
too.
get out there and start ripping into some woodman, build some more secure housing, even a couple of benches, tables, and who knows where this could lead to. Maybe our next encounter with others is just around the corner, and our communities will band together, forming the new cradle of civilization. I don't know, maybe I'm getting carried away, but it feels like we've been on a desolate alien planet for the past 7 years.
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up.
And this has pumped new blood through my veins. I forgot what optimism felt like, but now I can feel it again. I'm buzzing, man.
So am I. That ominous, desolate, godforsaken landscape out there doesn't seem so daunting anymore, knowing that there's others like us out there, because sometimes I thought to myself, wait, what if we are the only survivors? As stupid as that sounds, sometimes I thought it. What if nobody else survived and it's just us, but now we know there are others, and it makes you think how many more are there within, say, a 50-mile radius or a 100-mile radius. How many are doing the same as us and trying to get their voices heard out there on the air? How many have made contact possibly years ago with communities that are now thriving and expanding? As far as the radiation levels allow, it's a vast expanse of intrigue and mystery and questions, which someday hopefully we'll have the answers to. But what a day this has been. What a day. This is a day that will go down in Haven's history books for the kids of the future to read about.
Imagine the reaction when we tell the others in the morning. I mean, when you think about it, this will possibly be an opportunity for some of our people who don't have anyone to find new partners to procreate, which is so important, essential to our survival. And I think Richard said there were 22 or 23 survivors of this camp. That's a low number, but who knows? One of ours might hook up with one of theirs, and that would be a good thing. We need to repopulate. We need more workers for the land. We need innovators and builders, teachers, leaders, thinkers, fresh perspective, and each new generation offers that. So there's going to be a lot of excitement tomorrow, and a hell of a lot of volunteers wanting to go and meet up with Richard and his guys, but I'm thinking we should take 4 others with us. What do you think? Does 4 sound good?
Yeah, 4 is good because, even though we haven't come across any outsiders in over 7 years, tomorrow, while on our way to meet Richard, we could come across some, it's unlikely, but it is possible, and their intentions could be sinister. It's a desperate world out there at the moment. It's a lot of desperate people, so having backup is very important. So yeah, 4 is good.
Yeah, so 6 of us in total, and we will go armed. Obviously, we have to remain vigilant until trust is established with Richard and the others. But yeah, I think 6 is a good number, and the 4 others I would personally pick would be Kevin, Jamie, Ryan, and Ollie.
I would be happy with those 4 also. They're cool-headed and very dependable.
Man, I feel like Bilbo Baggins, ready to go off on some absolutely epic adventure, even though it's only a couple miles. But Richard is our Arkenstone, and we have to get to him, possibly dodge a couple of orcs on the way.
You're Bilbo. Who am I?
Well, I guess you would have to be Gandalf. You're taller than me, you're more gray than me, and you just generally look more worn out.
You know what? Actually, I think Smeagol would be a better fit for you. You're small, scrawny, and just generally strange. That describes you perfectly.
So ladies, if that's your type, small, scrawny, and just generally strange, get in touch.
You heard it, ladies. He's single, small, scrawny, and strange, and he's looking for his precious.
I can rest easily now knowing that droves of women will be coming from far and wide to take up on that irresistible offer.
Oh, yeah, they're going to be throwing their bras and panties over the settlement fences and screaming hysterically, fainting at the sight of you. You'll be like some post-apocalyptic, scrawnier, balder version of Elvis.
Well, thank you. See, Dad, I told you I would amount to something someday. So anyway, we're going to cook something good up for the guys tomorrow. We'll do our best with what we've got. And, yeah, then we'll make our way to their camp. And I can't wait to see it. I wonder what the levels of radiation are like around there. We should have asked Richard. We didn't even ask him if we were the first people he'd got in contact with. I guess the excitement got the better of us. But I can't imagine he's been on the air as long as us. Otherwise, I think we would have made contact a lot sooner. The signal was pretty strong, so we would have picked it up. But yeah, actually his camp did come in contact with others a few years back, like he said, but not the friendly sort of contact you would be hoping for. He said that raiders came and killed, I think he said 16 of them. Awful. They got the better of them. Luckily, we haven't experienced anything like that, but we know they're out there, so we have a man on duty every night scanning the area for any potential threat. We keep our guard up. We don't allow ourselves to become complacent.
Yeah, so let that be a warning. We want to help out our fellow man as best we can, but we won't be taken advantage of. This is our home, and we'll defend it with our lives.
Oh yeah, we forgot to mention, on Friday night, at least we think it's a Friday night, the days of the week have been hotly disputed, let's say, since shit hit the fan many a year ago. Some think today is Tuesday, others say it's Wednesday. It doesn't really matter, I guess, but this Friday or Saturday, depending on who you ask, the Haven Band is playing. Yes, you heard me correctly. We actually have a band in the settlement. We have Jimmy Mallon on guitar. Peter Novotny is the drummer on his makeshift drum kit made of tins, pots, pans, buckets, and what have you. Then we have Dean Miller, our harmonica player. Sarah Teichman plays the flute. Harvey Michaels is on bass. Well, actually, he doesn't have a bass, but he has a very deep baritone voice, which acts as the bass guitar. And last but not least, our lead singer, Gracie Morrison. She has a fantastic set of lungs, and they really lift our spirits. They play a couple of covers, but they also write their own stuff, and it's good. I like to call it blues or rock apocalyptic, and yeah, maybe Richard and the guys will get to see them if they want to come over again. We'll see. Talking of bands, what was the last gig you went to before the war started?
Easy. Oasis, Manchester, 2025.
Oh yeah, the reunion? Okay, that's cool. I wonder if any, like, actual physical copies of all the great music actually exists anymore. I'm sure some do, but they would be like relics now, so few and far between. Like, just imagine in 1,000 years' time when the music of the past has been forgotten, and it easily could be, although we're doing our best to keep it alive. But imagine all of it just being completely forgotten, and the history of the past world, this world being erased, and some dude in the future, some archaeologist, just digs up an old record collection with no idea really what music even is, like it being something humans have failed to rediscover in a post-apocalyptic world, and him, the archaeologist, playing it for the first time and playing it for all his archaeologist buddies, like, hey, listen to this, wouldn't that be insane? Never hearing music before, maybe not even understanding the language, because English is no longer English as we understand it. That would blow your mind, man.
Well, I guess you could say the same about a lot of things, like them finding an old DVD collection and also a device to play them on, and not even knowing what a movie is, because I have no doubt that humanity will bounce back from this, but what we invent in the future, what we will consider technology, could be radically different from what we once considered technology. A lot of our past technology revolved around the entertainment industry and social media technology to keep the masses subdued and in line, subservient beings endlessly staring at a screen, scrolling, slowly turning their brains to mush. Well, anyway, the technology of the future, I very much doubt, will be focused in that area. Instead, it will be an advancement in technology that allows the future generations to not just survive, but thrive in this environment, this devastated world that we have left them. And as they say, necessity is the mother of invention. Well, necessity will dictate the direction that technology takes. But yeah, to get back to what you said, that would be insane, discovering what they would deem relics of the past and remnants of insanely advanced civilization.
Yeah, but hopefully those things won't be forgotten. I mean, so much of the distant past is a mystery to us because there's not much visual documentation of it, apart from a couple pictures or whatever, which now have probably been destroyed anyway, and obviously numerous texts detailing life back thousands and hundreds of years ago. But our time, like pre-war, was so well documented, billions upon billions of videos, trillions of hours of footage of our world before the war. Imagine all that being lost and completely forgotten. That blows my mind. I mean, nobody in the settlement has any footage of the world pre-war. We got a couple photos, but that's it. They could succumb to the elements in a very short time once we pass on. I mean, it's a morbid thought, but it's a possibility. But wouldn't it be great to see just a 5-second clip of busy city street on a summer's day, or a couple seconds of your favorite sitcom? Man, I think I would cry, honestly, because you suppress those memories of the past, the bad ones and even the good ones, because it would just eat you up inside that those times don't exist anymore. Sorry, I'm getting a bit sentimental.
Well, you're right, it would, but only if you look at the past in the wrong way. I mean, we tend to view the past as being better than it actually was, because the past has happened and we feel some sense of control over it in our minds, so we twist it in a way that suits us. But at the time, it really wasn't all that good, and we just convince ourselves now in the actual present that it was. And so we long for it, when really we should just be using the memory of it as fuel for a better future. Or maybe I'm just tired and talking shit.
And my head tried to process that, but it malfunctioned. Who knows, maybe.
I'm not sure if this is reaching anyone, or if there's even anyone out there to hear it. My name is Melissa Carpenter, an Aussie living in America, or what used to be America, I should say, and I'm part of a group of 14 survivors who made our way to the wilderness, I guess you could say, days before the city was destroyed, and that was exactly 7 years, 3 months and 18 days ago. But I'm here with my good friend, and we only just recently got this radio thing up and running, and we're still getting the hang of it. But we both thought we heard someone on the air. It was very faint, but it sounded like a man, and the signal was weak and kept breaking up. But we were sure we heard a few words here and there, and almost positive we heard the name Richard, but yeah, we definitely could hear someone talking, and we were overwhelmed with joy. It was like hearing, when it's been a long, long, dark winter, the kind of one that feels like it will never end. And then you hear the first spring bird. It felt like that, like these 7 years in complete isolation, the unknown, what seemed like a vast nothingness, and then through the crackles of the radio, we heard a voice. We heard hope. We heard life. It's been 7 years since everyone fled the cities thinking they could find a safe haven out in the wild, away from the chaos of the nuclear fallout. And like I said, I'm here with 14 others, my little band of survivors huddled together in the isolated wilderness, trying to create some semblance of life, and every day feels like a struggle where you wake up and the first thing that hits you is fear, the fear of what's out there, the fear of what's already inside us, and we've felt like that since the day the world went dark. But we've learned to hunt, to scavenge, and to rely on one another, and yet for every meal we cook over the fire, for every laugh we share in the cold, there's always that reminder hovering above us like a vulture. Some of us succumb to disease, to radiation poisoning. It just creeps in, stealing our breath, stealing our hope. And I can still see their faces, friends who fought hard, who tried to keep their spirits high while their bodies betrayed them. And it breaks my heart. But I don't know how to mourn anymore. We have buried so many, too many, added stones to the makeshift graves, and all while saying goodbye to lives that should have been lived. But somehow, amidst the ashes, there are sparks of light, and I'm an optimist. I always have been, and hope, it seems, has a way of sneaking in when you least expect it. And I see it in the eyes of the kids in our group, the ones who barely remember the city or the sun shining on concrete, how they find joy in the smallest things, butterfly flitting past, or a tiny insect scurrying across the ground, or the way they laugh hysterically. When you make a silly sound, they, despite the hardships around them, still see so much hope and joy and promise in life, something which sadly dwindles away with time when the weight of the world does everything in its power to crush the spirit, to wear you down. But that's when you have to push back and fight harder than you've ever fought before. That's resilience, and we've developed it in abundance. And it's the laughter of the kids, a simple reminder of what it means to be alive, that keeps us going. Each day is a balance between despair and determination. But we wake up, we gather what little we have, and we keep moving forward, because if we let the darkness consume us, then we're truly lost. And I guess that's the reality of it all, that you have to choosing to live, to fight, even when everything feels hopeless. And some days are harder than others, but I promise you this. As long as we have each other, and as long as we can share a moment of warmth on an ice-cold night, then there is still a flicker of hope. So if you are out there, take care of yourself, and remember that survival is more than just breathing. It's about holding on to the things that make us human: love, joy, laughter, even in the most broken times. And I guess that's all I really want to say. And if you are hearing this, you are no doubt going through your own struggles, and we all deal with them in different ways and find the best ways to cope in a world that went mad a long time ago, and that madness sent us spiraling into the abyss. And you can't help but try and remember the world before the bombs rain down, life before it all, the partying. The 9 to 5 even seems nice now, and I try and remember the sound of my mother and father's voice and how they smiled when I came in the door, and I remember the day I left Australia and telling my parents, it will feel like no time at all before I'm back. Well, I never went back. I never got the chance. And I have accepted the fact that I will never see them again, but I hope if they are still alive, I hope in their hearts that they know I'm alive, and as well as can be expected, I love you guys. So anyway, maybe my friend would like to add something. He's unusually quiet this evening, so Carl, anything you want to say?
Okay, I'll just start talking, I guess, and see what comes out. I'm just a guy trying to make sense of this mess we're all in. We're living in a world transformed by fallout, nuclear fallout, and that's the grim reality we face every single day. when those bombs fell. They didn't just destroy cities, they unleashed a poisonous cloud of particles that spread through our air, our soil, and our water, and you may never see it, but trust me, it's there, and it's lurking. It's like an invisible enemy. It's the kind that eats away at our bodies and our minds, and well, you might be wondering, how long is this gonna last? Well, let's break it down into simple terms. The radioactive stuff left behind varies. Some isotopes have half-lives, basically. The time it takes for half of the radiation to decay, and that stretches from days to thousands of years. Cesium-137, for instance, has a half-life of about 30 years, so that means even 3 decades from now, a good chunk of it will still be around, affecting the land where we grow our food and the water we drink. So if you're hoping things will just heal up in a few years, you might want to think again. But it's not all doom and gloom. Well, kinda. I mean, there are more folks here in the settlement than anyone should have expected, and probably many more in others, possibly even hundreds in other settlements if they've done the right things, and we have, and we've managed somehow. And so that brings me to survival. How do we make it long-term, like long-term? I mean, we've done 7 and a bit years, so how can we stretch that out? Well, obviously, physical health is priority number 1. If you get sick from radiation exposure, nausea, skin burns, a weakened immune system, you're not just fighting against sickness, you're fighting against our very real enemy, which is the aftermath of ignorance and carelessness from the past. So we need to ration our food as we have been doing, share clean water, and obviously, needless to say, stay out of the places where the fallout's concentrated. As for our environment, it's a wasteland, quite literally, and the air is thick with particles, heavy with metal residues, and the plants that once flourished are now twisted and mutated. The animals have mostly fled or succumbed to the invisible cascade of radiation. They simply didn't make it, and the ecosystem is shattered, and it's our responsibility to piece together whatever's left when it comes to the change in the climate. Well, we've got serious ozone depletion and extreme weather. The world's going through it all. As for the sun's rays, well, they're not just hot. They're unfiltered and unforgiving, and with the atmosphere damaged and debris blocking sunlight, we're left with shorter growing seasons and harsher conditions. So the scars from nuclear war run deep, and they'll take countless tomorrows to heal, assuming we can hold on and assuming we stay smart about what's left. So check your surroundings and keep your head on straight, stay together, look out for one another, because in this empty expanse, your knowledge of what we lost and what we have to do to survive is your greatest asset. And our future, it may be uncertain, but if we brace ourselves for the long haul, who knows, maybe we'll carve out a new path, one from the ashes.
God, I love listening to what you have to say. You always put a scientific spin on things, which I find so interesting, but it also makes me feel like a complete idiot because I don't know anything about that kind of stuff. But, like, what do you think, say, if we do eventually get in contact with other survivors, will that increase our chance of survival or not necessarily? And if you were to put an estimate on the number of survivors around the world, what would be your best guess?
Well, there are some harsh truths we must deal with. Pre-war, we had a population of around 8.5 billion worldwide, and my estimates suggest that we might be lucky to find only 1 to 5% of people left alive. So that translates to roughly 85 to 425 million souls left in this new hostile world, because of course most major cities and towns are gone, and what remains is often unrecognizable, as if Earth has transformed into a distant alien planet, and not forgetting the millions, possibly even billions, who have died since the last bomb was dropped over 7 years ago, from what we were talking about a few minutes ago, the fallout and whatnot. So the number of survivors will be steadily dwindling until someday, hopefully, things begin to level out. But obviously, the last thing people are focused on now is having kids, but that's absolutely essential to our survival. We have to, as harsh as the conditions are, we need to find a way to raise children in this new environment. Otherwise, we will simply go extinct. But survival is not merely about numbers, it's also about connection and community. And when we find ourselves face to face with other survivors, we must approach them not with mistrust or greed, but with a pragmatic mindset. And so bartering is going to be crucial for our continued existence, because the old currencies have crumbled, but the value of what we can trade, as in food, water, skills, they remain. I mean, imagine this, you and I standing in a clearing, exchanging goods, and I have fresh vegetables from my small garden, while you have extra filtered water or medical supplies, or maybe you're a craftsman with the ability to fix what's broken, or you're skilled at growing food in these harsh conditions. Well, we can gather knowledge, techniques, and resources that can elevate all of us. Don't underestimate the value of diplomacy. We need to negotiate terms of cooperation. How can we share resources? How can we protect one another from the dangers lurking in this fragmented world? So, trust will take time to build, and it must start with open conversation and respect for one another's survival and privacy. So, we should be wise about our interactions if we meet others, which is pretty unlikely in our lifetime anyway, but if we do, then we should build bridges instead of walls, and it will be difficult if and when the time comes, but with shared skills and combined efforts, you can carve out something more than mere existence.
But you really think it's unlikely that we'll come across other survivors in our lifetime?
Well, let's break it down simply. The world we once knew, your cities, your towns have been reduced to graveyards of memories. I mean, we're talking about a drastic decline in the population. Numbers between 95 to 99% gone. Just think about that for a second. If you used to walk outside to a bustling street, well, now you're just as likely to walk into silence, save for the whispering winds and the creaks of the forgotten buildings and getting from one place to another. Well, that's a whole different story. The land is scarred, poisoned by the fallout. Radiation levels are rampant in almost every direction. And even if you muster the courage to venture further than your front door, assuming you have one, you're risking exposure just to see what's out there. Each step could be a brush with death. I mean, we've learned to navigate this wilderness to a certain extent, but it's not easy, and it's not safe. And then, of course, you've got the distance, those other survivors we dream of meeting, and the other settlements we hope to discover. What if they're hundreds, if not thousands, of miles away? I mean, who's got the energy to trek through this desolation, particularly when every mile could mean contamination? I mean, the thought alone is daunting, but it's reality. It's a bitter pill to swallow, and so chances are we won't cross paths with other survivors in our lifetime. And that's a lonely thought for sure. And although we might find a flicker of hope in the remnants of our past, note scrawled on a crumpled piece of paper or a broken doll in the ashes. But those are just moments, and this is the new norm: solitude, potential despair, and the fight for survival in all its raw forms. Yet, despite these odds, we still hold on to hope that maybe, just maybe, there's someone else out there tuning in, someone else with a flicker of survival in their eyes, and we cling to this desperate wish, this yearning for connection in a world that has forgotten what it means to be a community.
Wow. Okay, well, that definitely puts a different spin on things for me. Maybe I was naive in thinking we would someday make contact with others. I mean, we heard something coming through, didn't we? Like the signal was so weak. But we definitely heard a guy's voice. Don't you think so? And if we heard them, then surely there's a chance they can hear us. And I don't know how far a signal like this reaches, but for us to hear them even just faintly, they can't be that far away, can they?
Well, radio signals are a little like the whispers of the wind. They can travel beyond sight, bouncing off the atmosphere, reaching places we might have thought unreachable, and in the right conditions with the right equipment. And let's face it, we don't have much in this post-apocalyptic hell. Those signals can stretch for miles, even across hundreds of miles, depending on the frequency. But I won't bore you with the science, but here's the gist. Lower frequencies, they're like the low rumble of thunder, steady and persistent, and they can roll right past the ruins, skipping across the ground and reaching far-flung corners of this forgotten land. Meanwhile, the higher frequencies, they're more like chirping birds, basically, darting around in the atmosphere, creating challenges as they scatter in all directions, but still capable of carrying our voices into the void. Under these ruins of civilization, signal can traverse hundreds of miles, but here's the kicker. The farther it travels, the more distorted it becomes. It fragments, breaks apart, fractured by time and distance, and what starts as a clear voice can quickly degrade into nothing more than garbled noise. And that's what we heard, basically. Sound is a wave of vibration every time a radio signal is sent out. It spreads across the universe like ripples in a pond, and a simple frequency signal can bounce off the ionosphere, dance around the curvature of the Earth, and travel vast distances. But in this landscape of ruins and radiation, there's more interference than we can count. The mountains, the twisted wreckage of buildings, the static of a world gone mad, and it's all eating away at the clarity we desperately crave. Now imagine trying to reach out to that voice screaming into the abyss, hoping for an answer. The chances of that connection becoming anything coherent are slim to none. It's like throwing a message in a bottle into a raging sea. Sure, you sent out a plea, but who knows if it'll ever be picked up, or worse, if it gets twisted into something utterly unrecognizable before it even lands.
Right, well, that's quite a depressing prospect, but here's Leroy. He's coming over.
Ah, Leroy, great.
Yo, what up, my peeps? What you doing? Damn, you dudes look depressed as shit, y'all. Look like you just got diagnosed with my face is miserable as fuck syndrome.
No, we're just talking.
Well, damn, I'd be depressed too if I was talking to you, Carl.
Thank you, Leroy.
Man, you about as much fun as my dead grandma. Yo, listen up. It ain't all doom and gloom, y'all. I got some good news. The first bud just appeared on my planet. So we in for some high times, y'all. Hell, who knows? That shit could mutate into some crazy super plant like a nuclear power plant.
Wow, that won't exactly boost productivity amongst the ranks.
No, but it'll boost their mood around y'all miserable ass.
I just don't think it's a very good idea.
Look, man, we just gonna be having a smoky toke every once in a while. Ain't no big deal.
I just think that this is something we should put to a vote. Do we allow drugs within the camp?
Chill, man. The last time any of us had a vote, the world got nukes as shit, so we don't need that bullshit. What we need to do is let folk do whatever they want to do, as long as it ain't hurting nobody else. and me occasionally having a nuclear doobie ain't gonna affect you.
Hold on a minute. You're not putting in the work to help the community because you're blitzed out of your mind is going to affect me as well as everybody else.
Then listen, I'm gonna smoke that goddamn plant with or without your permission. Now, if you want to be a giant pain in the ass about it, then go be a giant pain in the ass to someone who actually gives a shit. Because it ain't me.
Okay, Melissa, I've had enough of this moron. I'm gonna bed.
Whatever, man. Me and Melissa got some catching up to do anyway. So anyway, how you doing, girl? You holding up okay?
Yeah, I'm good. I was just intrigued by that very mature debate between you and Carl.
You know, I'm sorry, but that dude is a constant buzzkill, and it looks like he gone and killed your buzz, too.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know, he's just saying how it's like almost an impossibility that we'll ever meet other survivors and all that in his typical educational, knowledgeable, convincing kind of way. And it did make sense, I think, and he was talking about how few survivors there actually are and how we could be hundreds, even thousands of miles apart, so we will never meet another community in our lifetime, that sort of stuff.
Shit, no wonder you look depressed. See, that's what I'm talking about. The dude gets off on being a buzzkill.
But I never told you. We heard like a guy's voice over the radio.
You know what?
Yeah, but it was like a very broken signal, so we couldn't really make out what he was saying. But I think I heard the name Richard, but Carl thinks it could have came from hundreds of miles away. So...
No. Don't listen to that. You gotta stay positive, Melissa. Ain't nobody got time for fear in a world already broken. You feel me? We gotta follow up on this. It means we ain't just the last one standing on this cracked piece of ground. There are others out there, other survivors. Picture it. New faces, new stories. A whole world that ain't just wasteland and rats. This is good news. Straight up silver lining vibes, girl. I'm talking about more people, more stories, and more skills. Think about it. Maybe these folks can cook good, or I don't know. Can someone out there please fix the generator? So we don't have to listen to Carl's constant goddamn whining. That dude's like the wet blanket at a bonfire. The dude's got a PhD in pessimism. He just scared of change. That's all it is. I mean, we've been living like this for over 7 years. It's what we know, and change is scary. I ain't denying that. Change is scary, like seeing a 3-headed mutant rat scurry across the floor when you just wanted to enjoy your can of beans scary. Well, we got to follow up on that. We got to tell the others.
Yeah, I guess so. We have to tell them at least, and then we can all decide what to do about it.
This voice you heard, that's opportunity. We got to take those risks if we want to break out of this. So let's rally the troops, grab the radios, and hit the motherfucking road, girl.
Let's do it.